Painter Wu Guanzhong is someone who has mastered the essence of both Chinese and Western paintings. To the Western eye, he is the vanguard of Chinese Impressionism. To the Chinese, Wu has taken the ink and paintbrush to a whole new level. Often regarded as the founder of modern Chinese painting, Wu painted various aspects of China, from the Jiangnan houses and animals to landscapes and waterscapes, including his most famous painting, Geese on Taihu Lake. Take a look.
All these blocks of whiteness were swarming on the water. I tried to capture the shifting shades as well as the postures of these geese. Rather than the detail, I had to focus on the broad interactions of the white masses. The red spots would turn the masses into geese. Haste is no excuse for sloppiness. It's finally done, and I felt like having just climbed a 3,000-meter high mountain. How exhausting. In the image, the cooking fire and laden clothesline sensitively establish the human presence. Combining the Western medium of oil painting with the time-honored aesthetics of China, Wu Guanzhong's Geese on Taihu Lake is regarded as a landmark in Chinese Impressionism. In his early teens, while riding his father's fishing boat to school, Wu Guanzhong was always impressed by the quaint houses, bridges, and flocks of geese. In 1936, he entered the Hangzhou Fine Art Academy. But as Japan launched its full invasion of China the following year, Wu Guanzhong and his schoolmates had to move time and again. Such uncertainties never dampened his spirit. He sketched the landscapes that caught his eyes, and this nurtured the hope in his breast. In 1947, Wu Guanzhong left for Paris to study at the École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts. The young man marveled at the Western techniques and approaches, but not the content and subject matter. In his heart, Wu Guanzhong still yearned for the beauty of his hometown scenery.
吴冠中呢，曾经在他的回忆里边呢，讲述过一个故事，就是有一次在画室里边来做人物模特的写生，当时的这个模特呢，身形比较硕大，他的老师就问他们一个问题：你们看到了什么？我看到的呢，是一个巴黎圣母院。
At that moment, it dawned on Wu Guanzhong how cultural differences had hampered his full appreciation of Western artworks. In spite of the sophisticated techniques, those paintings were too remote from the experiences of his childhood and youth. He began to question his purpose as an artist. Guanzhong realized that the study of art didn't reside in Paris or in the studio of some established masters. It had to reside in his homeland and in his heart. In 1950, Wu Guanzhong returned to China and tried to apply Western visual vocabulary in painting the daily life of his home country. His series of landscapes captured the enchanting beauty of the Yangtze River, Yellow River, the mountains of Sichuan, and the waters of eastern China. And the misery of the past also entered his imagery. Once he gazed at a garden wall covered with moss and veins, and noted that he could hear the weeping of his ancestors. In 1974, Wu Guanzhong was painting the waterscape of Taihu Lake on a boat. As the flock of geese swarmed to the food scattered by a farmer, the water seemed to come alive against the backdrop of mountains in the distance. To capture the frenzy of activity, Wu Guanzhong swiftly laid blocks of whiteness on the paper in a seemingly random arrangement. With red dots, he marked the geese's head. The scene reminded him of his childhood.
吴冠中的这样的一种画中的用笔呢，形成了非常多的这样的肌理。这种肌理非常接近于我们在中国画的这个用笔里边毛笔的那种飞白的那种印记，同时呢，又非常贴近鹅毛的那样的一种蓬松的感觉。这样的一种用笔，应该说是结合了欧洲的现代油画的那种用笔的特点。同时又融合了中国画的用笔的特点，这也是吴冠中先生他强调的用笔的写意性。这种用笔的写意性，应该说也直接影响了中国现代油画，甚至于现当代油画的发展。
The pulsating brushstrokes captured the flock's dynamism and the charms of Taihu Lake. The silver gray seldom seen in Western painting accentuates the tranquil serenity of Eastern China springtime. And the saturated spots of intense hues enliven the scenery.
吴冠中先生画了大量的风景作品，像这样的作品不算多。但是在太湖鹅群这件作品中，你能分明能听到那群鹅向天的欢快的鸣叫啊，这真是农村的一种非常可爱的家乡情节。我想吴老创作这件作品，他一定带着一种很内在的，或者说也很丰富的一种对一种生活过的这种家乡的一种眷恋。
In one of his poems, Wu Guanzhong wrote, "Returning to my hometown silver-haired, I found the geese's cause touchingly familiar." His techniques may come from the West, but the soul of Wu Guanzhong's art is Chinese. As he left Paris decades ago, Wu Guanzhong had quoted Vincent van Gogh and wrote, "You're like the wheat and should stay in the field." Rather than wilting on Parisian sidewalks, you should thrive in the soils of your hometown. In 2002, Wu Guanzhong became the first Asian to be honored as a correspondent member at the Academy of Fine Arts of France. He replied, "I grew up in the countryside. I was born and bred a Chinese." Geese on Taihu Lake, landscape of northern country, pine trees of Huangshan Mountains, and the Three Gorges. These paintings demonstrate Wu Guanzhong's love for his homeland, his beautiful China.